Hello, my name is Ismail Shakhtakhtinsky. I'm the immigration attorney at I.S.Law Firm, and I want to update about the status of the current asylum cases, about the process, the current procedures, wait time, approximate wait times, the general mood of the Asylum Office, how they process asylum cases, and give an update about the work permits based on the pending asylum cases. The Asylum Office takes approximately about a month to 2 months to issue a receipt from the time of filing. So what it means is that once you file your asylum application, you should expect about probably a month or two until the Asylum Office is able to issue a receipt showing that your asylum case has been filed and is pending. This is important to note because a lot of times we have clients, and generally we hear people get impatient and they decide to refile asylum, and it creates a little bit chaos and maybe even creating more backlog in the asylum case processing. Unfortunately, it adds up on top of each other. I mean, everything adds up on top, and then at the end of the day, the Asylum Office takes even longer to process those new asylum cases and issue receipts. We typically advise to wait at least 60 days from the time of filing before you get nervous whether you want to follow up. Unfortunately, there's not much ways to follow up with the Asylum Office to make sure that they received your application, other than basically waiting for the receipt or getting a confirmation from the mail service that the application was delivered. Now, it's very important to use a type of courier service so that you see when and where your application package was delivered. That way, you know one thing for sure, that the application was delivered, the package was delivered, and second, it also fixes the date of your filing for the purpose of the 1-year deadline. As many know, the asylum applications have to be filed within 1 year of their arrival in the U.S., except in some exceptional circumstances. But other than that, it has to be within 1 year. So if you file your asylum application, say, month before the deadline, and you haven't received the receipt confirming that the asylum application has been filed and pending, you may get nervous. But if you have either USPS, UPS, or FedEx confirmation that the application package was delivered, then you can be sure that this fixes the date. So even if the package gets lost or something happens or the receipt doesn't get issued timely and it's past 1 year deadline, you can use this delivery confirmation as evidence your asylum application is pending, has been filed timely and is pending. So this is very important. It's because it's a unique situation. It wasn't like this before. Usually you would file asylum application within a week or two, you would get a receipt. But now, in the cases that we're filing, it takes up to around 2 months for the receipt. Now, this is just the first stage. You get the receipt, what's next? Once you get the receipt, the next thing is you'll probably get a biometrics appointment, the fingerprinting appointment. The fingerprinting appointment also arrives late. So in some cases, there is a month or two gap between the time of filing, time of receipt and the biometrics appointment. So again, be patient. Now, the biometrics appointment, there is a misconception that it does something, and actually the time calculation of the time for your interview starts from that. No, that's not the case. The biometrics appointment is just a part of the process. It can be early, soon, or a little later. That's when they just need to take your fingerprints for the processing of your case. The next step in the asylum process, obviously, is your asylum interview. That's the major milestone. The asylum interviews currently, I wish I could tell you how long it takes. It's quite chaotic. As we all know, there is a significant backlog. We have cases from 5 years ago that the clients are still waiting for the interviews. We had a meeting with quarterly meeting with the Asylum Division Director, and we were notified that the USCIS Asylum Office has some applications that have been pending since the early 2000s, or so there was something in 1990s. Now, that doesn't mean that this is how long it takes now, but it just describes how chaotic it is in terms of timeline for scheduling asylum interviews and how long it can take. Now, I don't suggest that it's going to take 20 years, but it's 5 years, 6 years. It's not unusual. Now, in 2018, the Asylum Office, the USCIS, tried to expedite the processing of the newly filed cases. So any case that was filed after January of 2018 was supposed to be scheduled for asylum interview within 30 days, 21 days. I believe they started with 21 days, but then it went to 30 days and so on, and then it turned into 2 months, 6 months. And unfortunately, many cases now still get thrown into the backlog. So chaotically, inconsistently, some of the asylum cases that are filed now, that we file for our clients, they sometimes get scheduled for interviews within 2 months, some within 6 months, some within, or some, well, I was going to say 2 years, but that hasn't happened. So, or some get thrown into the general backlog where it could sit there for years. Now, the good news is that the current administration is trying to improve things. That's not to say the previous didn't try. Well, all of the administrations tried to improve the procedures, but unfortunately, they have not been successful in the past, and things got even worse. But now they have increased the staff, increased the processing. They are trying to streamline the processing. Of course, it's, we'll wait and see how it works. But that's the case. Currently, it takes this long. And you never know. You never know whether you'll get your asylum interview within 3 weeks, within 2 months, 6 months, or 6 years. Nobody knows at this time. So, of course, during the wait time, while you're waiting for your asylum interview or decision on your asylum case, you would also qualify for employment authorization, for work permit, and by law you can file it. You can file it within 180 days since the date, 365 days since the date of your filing for asylum. But there is a precedent case law which says that if you become a member of one of the nonprofit organizations, we're going to include the links, then you can, nonprofit organizations, asylum advocacy organizations, then you can file it within 150 days from the date of filing. The filing date will be on your receipt, 150 days, and it will be processed within 30 days. So what it means in practical terms that 6 months from the date of your asylum filing date on the receipt, you will probably have your work permit. Now, once that work permit expires or is about to expire, you can file. It's better to do it before it expires. You would have to file for extension of the EAD. The extensions, filing of the extension, timely filing of the extension of EAD normally would extend automatically your expired or about to expire EAD for additional 180 days. Now, just starting from today, May 4, 2022, they changed the policy. Now it extends for additional 540 days. So for additional 1.5 years from the date of the previous EAD. And what it means is that that's probably what they're estimating that the backlog of EAD processing can grow into, 540 days. So this is work permit situation. The other questions I get a lot is the current mood or attitude towards immigrants and the asylum officers, whether the asylum officers are too strict, or they try to find reasons to approve the case or disapprove the case. There's been the stigma from the previous administration that some of the asylum officers are mean, or they're trying to use the situation, the general atmosphere, and then try to deny as many cases as possible, refer them to court, and so on and so forth. Well, first of all, to dispel this this rumor. That I don't think that was the case even under the previous administration. Every asylum officer, or their supervisor or asylum office, in general, they have their own, approach to things. If an asylum officer is sort of conservative and it wants to deny a case, then they're going to do it whether this administration or other administration is in power. So I would say, as a general rule, when I get asked these questions, I tell everyone, do not focus on that. Do not focus on what the asylum officer thinks or, their mood and so on. There's a lot of rumors that, your asylum case depends on so many factors that, what is the current policy. There is no general policy, so to say, that, today we're going to approve more asylum cases than before, or we're going to deny more asylum cases than before. There is no such policy in general. But again, in general, yes, I'd say they're softer, they're more thorough, but everything depends on the individual asylum officer and individual asylum judge. So as for the defensive asylum cases, that are filed in court, or if it's affirmative asylum case filed with the USCIS that has been referred to immigration judge, the same rule applies. It's a lot depends on the judge, depends on the court, but most of it depends on you, on how you present your case, depends on your evidence, depends on the strength of the case, depends on how you prepare for your hearing, depends on your attorney, how your attorney prepares you and herself or himself present your case to the immigration judge. So there are many different factors. The important thing is you shouldn't just focus on one factor or another. You should, most importantly, prepare for your case, prepare evidence, bring witnesses, and make it as sound and as strong as possible. But in general, these are the news. This is the general status of USCIS Asylum Office handling asylum cases, the affirmative asylum cases, the timeline and what you should expect. You can always contact our office at the numbers below and at the contact information below. So we will be glad to answer any questions you have, any additional or specific questions, or provide you full consultation. And of course, if you want to follow us and see more videos like this, be on top of all the news and get updates, please subscribe, please hit like, and we will continue providing updates and more videos on different immigration topics. Thank you.